Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eat, Sleep, List. My name is Matt Johnson, your host, and for today, Fun List Friday with the NHL playoffs soon coming to an end. We're going to be discussing the NHL Jerseys list. Let's get to work. All right, so I'm actually a little sad heading into this video because normally when I do a gimmicky themed video, I like to get a little dressed up for the occasion, right? Special dressed up. When I did the NBA jersey list, I had a basketball jersey and a cheap headband and work safety glasses ready to go and help me get in the zone. But I realized this week and more so today that I have absolutely zero zip, nada, hockey apparel. Not a single thing. And I am ashamed. I feel like I let myself down, most importantly, because I'm just not prepared visually for this episode. I haven't had a hockey jersey since I was really little. I used to have one of the Sabres goat head black and red jerseys with no name attached to it, I don't believe, but I used to have one of those. I'm pretty sure I had a Sabres hat at one point in my life. I've recently had this, like one of those Budweiser or Bud Light winter hats with the stupid slug logo that the Sabres had in like the mid-2000s, mid-2010s. Even if I could have found that, I probably would have worn it just to have something. But I legitimately have nothing. And it kind of makes me sad. It made me realize, though, that I probably should get something down the road. Because in case we ever do a NHL-related or hockey in general related or hockey in general related list, I should probably be a little bit more prepared. And there are some jerseys that I would certainly rock. I grew up in a really, really, really good time to be a Sabres fan. All right, the mid to late 90s. That was peak Sabres time in my lifetime. It was a great roster. And like, how could you not love what the Sabres had going on at this point in time? The Bills were just coming off. There's still like Thurman and Bruce Smith and Andre Reed, but we're just coming off this in the mid to late 90s. You're coming off the Jim Kelly Super Bowl years, all that good stuff. And then on the ice, right, in the NHL, for the Buffaloes hockey team, Dominic Hasek, Rob Ray, and my personal favorite, Michael Pekka. All right, I'm pretty sure Stu Barnes was there around that time. A lot of great names. But yeah, Michael Pekka was my absolute favorite. In fact, I remember having a poster thing from the newspaper. I had it hanging up on my wall until it just got so yellow that it was unrecognizable. But loved the Sabres in that point in time. I really did. It was a statement. It was a cool thing to be a part of. And not only did they have a great team, Lindy, I can't forget about Lindy Ruff. He's back now trying to salvage whatever's left of this team. But not only did I have that team, I have probably one of the greatest voices in hockey commentary history in Rick Jeanneret. I grew up listening to Rick Jeanneret. Like, there was Van Miller for the Bills and Rick Jeanneret for the Sabres. And getting prepped for this episode, I listened to some of Rick Jeanneret's greatest calls. I found as many compilation videos as I could, and oh my God, could that guy tell the story when it comes to hockey. The way he can go from straight and narrow to Stu Barnes, just the level of excitement he puts into anything. I would love to watch, and unfortunately Rick Jeanneret is no longer with us, but I would have loved to watch him narrate an Animal Planet documentary or something, because that's how just good and interesting he makes things feel. He was so amazing at what he did, and a voice of a generation, and I'm sad that One, that he's no longer with us, and two, that the Sabres hockey product had fallen off as tremendously as it did when he sadly passed. But I remember a lot of good times going to games and going to the arena. And at that time, a little nostalgia for some people maybe, but it was Marine Midland Arena. It was not KeyBank Center, which is what it is today. I'm pretty sure it wasn't HSBC. Marine Midland Arena. That was where the Sabres played. And a lot of good memories there. This is when they were in the top of the National Hockey League many, many times over. And, playing in I believe they played in the Stanley Cup, or at least got pretty close. I'm not the biggest hockey aficionado, as you could probably tell, but it is a important part of my upbringing, so I have to acknowledge it. So not only being around the Sabres in a good time, that was a part of it, but I also played a lot of video games in the day, and my dad was a big sports game guy, and he held on to and had as many as he could. Growing up, NHL 94 for the Sega Genesis was a big deal. It was a taller cartridge, and it was a big deal. Visually very, very cool. We had a Nintendo as well, and Blades of Steel was another classic, all-time great hockey game that ever so important to my upbringing. But my era was PlayStation more so, and I had NHL 98. That was my nonstop form of consuming hockey. These retroactive, like looking back, awful, horrible, not great 3D graphics, but at that time they were the real deal. But it was so good. I would love to find that game again and play it. I'm sure I could find it for dirt cheap, but great soundtrack, great playability, great commentary. I learn about players through that game, and I just love the fights in that game too. It was a lot of fun, but yeah. So those are kind of like my ins, my ways into the world of hockey. And although I'm no longer obsessed with it, I still have a good time going to games. My dad has taken me. My dad has taken me to a couple of games. In fact, I went to one of the most surreal hockey, or not even just hockey, but sports game that I ever been to was watching the Toronto Maple Leafs come to Buffalo. And it was the eeriest thing when Toronto would score a goal and they would, it was quiet but loud at the same time, like all the cool bells and whistles that usually come about when the Sabres score and win, or score and they weren't playing, but the whole crowd, the whole stadium was probably 95% Maple Leafs fans. Insane. I have never seen an away team dominate a home arena quite like that in any sport that I've ever been to. So that was surreal. 2023, I was very fortunate. My mentor and good friend, Mr. Moranto, took me to a game, which is really, really nice. So I've actually probably second to the NFL. I think hockey is probably the most watched sport I've ever seen in an arena. So there's that going for me. But yeah. But the point of today's video discussion is jerseys, and the NHL has really, really, really good jerseys. There's all sorts of stuff and things. There's their the regular home and away uniforms. There's all sorts of special uniforms, all-star uniforms. As great as the NBA, I think is. I think I mentioned, and if I didn't, in the NBA jerseys list, I would say that the NBA has probably got the best jerseys. I would put the NHL neck and neck with the NFL for number 2. I would. I really, really would. Looking through, planning for this list, which was very, very difficult, and I have a special shout out that I'm going to give to someone when we get ready for the top 10 list. But going through the different teams and jerseys that have been out there over the years. It was very, very difficult to narrow this down. But there's a lot of incredible jerseys, sweaters that have been available, have been out there over the years. And I like the look. I like the heaviness of a hockey sweater jersey. I like it's visually appealing. And there's been some crazy cool color combinations over the years, and that's what I'm excited to focus on for today's list. Lessons from the list. What are we gonna do? I think with like the NBA one, like jerseys are just I could bring up that jerseys are a really cool icebreaker. Wearing them is a really cool icebreaker. I think it's a nice way. Like if you see somebody wearing a cool and unique hockey uniform or a uniform that's from the team that you love, it's a great way to say hello to somebody, strike up a conversation, maybe even, and who knows, even make a friendship. Okay, I've talked about how my connection with the Colts has led me to some of my best friends in my life, currently, and I live in Buffalo. I live in Western New York, and Colts fans are not few and far between, and I've been very, very lucky to find 4 or 5 dedicated, relatively hardcore Colts fans, and it excites me. So I think hockey, it can be applied the same way. Also, too, I encourage people, if you've never been to a hockey game before, please go. Even if you have minimal interest in the sport of hockey, go. Go see it. It is a fun time. If you go to a good high-scoring game, it's a good time. Depending on where you live, I feel like most hockey tickets are fairly reasonably priced. But like I feel this way about soccer. I don't know soccer. I don't care about soccer. But I would love to go see a soccer game in Europe where how intense and how passionate these crowds get. The Sabres games can be a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. They don't win all the time, but they're still a lot of fun to go to. And depending on where you live, maybe just worth popping by. Just give it a shot. It's a life experience. All right, just to knock one, just say, hey, I did it. I went to go watch a hockey game live, and who knows, you might even fall in love with it. That's really all I got. Lessons from the list is kind of hard with these, with an episode of this caliber, but yeah, icebreaker, and go see it to have a life experience. All right, so before we get going on this top 10 list, I have to give a shout out to a very good friend of mine, and is my go-to hockey guy. He did a lot. He helped me out a ton when I was running a social media page for hockey players in other uniforms. Is basically, I had one for every single sport where I would put and pick out pictures, clips of players from various sports. I had a football one where, here's a clip of Eddie George with the Dallas Cowboys. And people were like, what? He played for the Cowboys? That was the point of it. And my good friend Andrew, I won't reveal his last name for privacy reasons, but I've known him for a very long time. It's actually crazy. Probably 14 or 15 years at this point, which is wild to think about. I met him in pro wrestling and have been very lucky to know this individual. But he's my go-to hockey guy. He's my guy who, if I have a question about hockey, I know I can go to and have it answered. And he is very, very serious. And he's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, very, very passionate. In fact, when I reached out to him for some guidance, for some inspiration, because just like when I did the Star Wars list, I reached out to people for some inspiration. I reached out to Andrew for inspiration for this episode. I apologize about his Maple Leafs falling in the NHL playoffs. So, but he's a diehard Maple Leafs fan, and I think this is another reason why I like hockey too, is because I see how much he loves it, how much it means to him. Because he's probably the most diehard hockey friend that I have. I would dare so say. So, want to give a shout out to him because he sent me some ideas, some lists, and actually sent me a great website that ended up being a wonderful reference point. So here are my top 10 favorite NHL jerseys of all time. I'm going to start off with my number 10, and it's going to be a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. So it is actually their away jersey, and there's a look from like 1970 to 1992 with minor variations. There's minor variations with it, but I really like this look. So being a Colts fan, as I've talked about, their colors are blue and white. All right, so there's a connection for me there. And for the most part, I don't think Toronto has messed around with their jersey style all that much. I think the most drastic change of the last, and again, I'm no hockey expert, so this is me from the outside looking in. I think the most drastic change in Toronto's hockey jerseys is in the last probably 60 years was the size of the leaf and maybe the leaf color in the middle. I think there was one point where it was like really ginormous, but that might be the most drastic change of it. It's a classic look. It's a look that doesn't have to be changed. And I like the white. I like the primarily white version of it. Like with the Colts, again, shoehorning football in here, but like with the Colts, I like that icy white with the kind of the just a little bit of blue. I like that with Toronto. I like that with their look. It's vintage. It's cool. I'm not saying it because my good friend Andrew loves the Toronto Maple Leafs. I can assure you of that. But it's just a good look, and I like the primary white version. So I put the ballpark year from 1970 to 92. Like I said, minor tweaks throughout, but that is my number 10. My number 9. So I remember, I think I might have had a plain jersey of this team when I was a kid. I'm looking at it right now in this moment. I think that I had a version of this jersey. It is the Phoenix Coyotes jersey, the home jersey that they wore from 1996 to 2003. It's primarily black. It's got the really cool Coyote mascot figure. I always like the half mask part of it. The color scheme is kind of cool too. I like the black with the like maroon red and the green. I think it's a unique combination that we don't really see all too often in sports. I more so like it for the mascot, for the Coyote mascot, but I think I had this jersey as a kid. Or my dad had it. It was somewhere in my household. I can almost guarantee you of that. But when you're a kid, you're enamored with mascots, with adorable cartoon characters. That's why I liked the Toronto Raptors jersey so much, was because of the cool dinosaur in a basketball jersey. And I am digging the way that this Coyote looked in his hockey uniform with his hockey stick and his half mask. Yeah, I don't know much more on how to describe that, why I like it. But that's my number 9, the Phoenix Coyotes home jersey. All right, my number 8. I think this is my only, well, no, there's another one with a little bit of red in it, but this is my only like primarily red jersey. And it's actually a throwback jersey. So this is the 75th anniversary Detroit Red Wings jersey. They wore this in 1991 to 92, and it's actually based off of the 1927 or 28 uniform, if I'm not mistaken. It's primarily white, and it's got like red stripes going across, and there's a thick one across the chest, the lower, well, I guess kind of the middle of the torso. It spells out Detroit. It's simple. All right, I like it. I think it's got a cool, like nice look to it. I think the red kind of it goes well with the white. It pops. I don't know how else to describe these besides, how they look and how they make me feel. I'm a big vintage fan, and actually, looking through the website that I ended up using, I liked a lot of the early like 1900s uniforms, the jerseys. I thought a lot of them looked cool, but there's not a lot of pictures for them, so it's hard to really get a grasp. Like I seen animated version, a cartoon version of these jerseys, but I want to find an actual living photograph. I said living, but I like an actual photograph of it. And fortunately, scrolling through, I knew there was a couple red ones that I really liked, and Detroit was definitely one of them. But I like this throwback one, and I like the 75th anniversary patch too. I like the orange and black NHL logo, but I think it looks good. It's on the right shoulder. But that is it. That is my number 8, the Detroit Red Wings 75th anniversary jersey. This is actually getting really, really tough. I don't know how I'm going to formulate the rest of these. Here, I'm going to go with this one. The Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Another gimmicky, cool cartoon character mascot that I fell in love with as a kid. Mighty Ducks. All right. Inspired a cartoon. Inspired... I would imagine it inspired the Disney Channel movie, I would think. Don't quote me on that, but the Mighty Ducks were this great, like, cultural thing. It transcended hockey. All right, this was like the equivalent of the Toronto Raptors. There's this awesome duck that's mighty from Anaheim. But I'm going to go with their away jerseys. I felt like those popped more. Both jerseys are great, but I always liked the away jersey. They used them from 1993 to 2006, but I like the primarily white with the green, kind of the green being the second most popular color on there, second primary, with the green being like a second primary color on the jersey. And that logo is just sick. The duck mask with the crossed hockey sticks. I mean, it's iconic. It is iconic. I probably could have put it up higher, but I found a couple really good deep cut jerseys that I was like, ooh, that speaks to me. But the Mighty Ducks away jerseys, 93 to 06, before they took a little bit more of an adult style look to it. And I know that my buddy Andrew liked one of their newer uniform styles, but I'm a sucker for old. I'm a sucker for the 90s, and Mighty Duck cartoon characters are right up my alley. So that's my number 7. All right, my number 6. I was kind of contemplating, trying to think about getting this up there a little bit higher, but I don't think I could put it up any higher. This is also from the late 90s. It is the Tampa Bay Lightning alternate jersey from 1996 to 1999. Now, something that I've maybe touched on briefly on my time in this show is I'm a big fan of the Weather Channel. All right, Local on the 8s was an important part of my childhood, and I liked the lightning icon when there was thunder and lightning storms coming, and I liked the poorly illustrated rain in Local on the 8's form. And so this jersey speaks to me because it's really freaking cool. I like the lightning bolt. I like the way it looks. I like the kind of the rain, like it's not even a stripe, like a streak going diagonal across it. The arm things have like the lightning, which is really cool lightning, and the bottom of the jersey has like waves moving in it. There's a lot to look at, and I've talked about art and how when you see a cool piece of art, there's a lot to look at. Comic book covers, I mentioned this. When there's a lot to look at something, it's very appealing, and there's a lot to look at with this alternate jersey. It's not flashy, but it's detailed. It's very, very detailed, and being a Weather Channel guy, I seen this. I don't remember this jersey at all, but when I seen this on that database, I was like, I have to have this on my list because it is beautiful. So that is it. The Tampa Bay Lightning alternate from 1996 to 1999. Number 5. I got to pick a Sabres one here. And I can't pick one or the other. I grew up in the black and red goat head era, but I also admire the white and blue, the blue and gold. So I did the hybrid. So I have it written down, 2022 to 2023, this reverse retro jersey, which was a best of both worlds scenario. And I think it is so freaking cool. It's the goat head with the blue and gold. And it is so aesthetically pleasing. I had to absolutely have this on this list. I probably would have put the goat head black and red as like a number 10. Or I would have put that the classic Sabres blue and white, blue and yellow. That might have cracked my, like, I don't know, 8th or 9th. But these two together is, in my opinion, a top 5 jersey. And again, it's my opinion. It's strictly my opinion. Everybody's tastes are going to be different. That's the fun in these lists. But it's a rare one. They don't wear it all the time, obviously. But this reverse retro is ungodly cool. So that's my number 5, the Sabres blue and yellow goat head. I feel like I need to buy this. I feel like I have to have one. Even though I don't know which player I would pick. I feel like I need to have that jersey because it is, gosh, it's pretty. All right. That's my number 5. Number 4. We're going to go with the LA Kings reverse retro. And basically, it's a cool, this reverse retro combination kind of thing is really cool. I'm not super familiar with it going into this, the name and what it means, but I really, really like what they got going on here. So for the LA Kings in 2021, they did their classic purple and yellow look, and they threw this on the jersey style that they switched over to in like the mid-90s. They went like black and white. Like it was a drastic. What is it with all these teams in the 90s, by the way? Just throwing away their fun colors for something like a more serious tone. I discussed this in the NBA episode as well, the NBA jersey episode. It was just so weird how in the middle of the 90s everyone's just like, you know what? Fun colors, goodbye. We're going for dark and grimacing. And the LA Kings were one of those teams to do it. So, but yes, the style of their mid-90s jerseys with the purple and yellow thrown on it, it's well done. I'm most positive this was on my buddy Andrew's list too. But purple and yellow is a great color combination. It's fun. I mean, the Lakers made it fun, and the Kings certainly made it fun. But this is a really great blend of two of the better LA King jerseys styles. So that's my number 4. So my number 3 was another deep cut that I had no idea I would be adding to this list. It was a color scheme that I had no idea that this team ever used. Obviously, based on some of my jersey lists that I've mentioned, I brought up, blue is a great color. I was blown away that this team used blue at any point. It is the Pittsburgh Penguins jersey. It's from 72 to 77, and they have basically their current Pittsburgh Penguins logo. I think it's pretty still similar. They might have cleaned it up, touched it up a little bit. But instead of the bulk of the jersey being black, it's like a blue. It's really cool looking and kind of like mind-blowing at the same time. Like when you stare at a negative, like a picture, like a piece of film, like the negatives and how the colors are kind of like opposite, if that makes any sense. Like, if I never knew they did this. So for me to see the Penguins all my life as, black and gold, black and yellow, and to see a blue primary color it was cool. And they actually had a little bit before that, there was a brighter powder blue. It was actually a little bit brighter, but I like the darker powder blue with the yellow touch on it. I think it's sick. This is all these jerseys I would buy, but this is a really cool throwback jersey. Had to make the list. That's my number 3. Number 2. My number 2 is another nice little throwback. Everything else here, there's not a whole lot of modern ones that I really put on this list, but I'm going to go with the Colorado Rockies. This is a era-defining jersey. I feel like I think you picture the NHL in the mid to late 70s, early 80s. I feel like the Colorado Rockies jersey is just one of the standout premier jerseys. All right, the primary blue with the red C and the yellow in the center, the elbow stripe, the red elbow stripe with the yellow accent, thick accent. You got like all the good colors just on one jersey, and it's a little selfish. It's a little selfish to put that much good coloring on a uniform, but they did it well, and it's cool, man. It is really cool. My dad had a bunch of his when I was growing up. My dad had a lot of his old cards, and I used to love looking at the old hockey cards and see if I can find a Colorado Rockies jersey. It's just cool. Like, I know when we did the NBA list, the Denver Nuggets had a color scheme, it was the rainbow jersey, and it was basically the same color of blue, and it incorporated that red and yellow. Denver, Colorado Rockies, Denver Nuggets. So I don't know if that was planned. I don't know if that was an intentional kind of like, let's do this together kind of thing, but it's a good look, and that's why it's my number 2. And my number 1 team is probably a team that most of you watching this didn't know was a thing, but way back in the day, in California, there was a team called the Golden Seals. All right, the California Golden Seals. Their last 3 years, 74, 75, and 76. They switched to a blue, and it's a pretty blue. It's like a turquoise, not even a turquoise, like a powdery blue. I don't know. It's a beautiful blue. I'm just gonna say that. And a yellow lettering, yellow accent, but it's hard to pick just one. They're beautiful jerseys, and those are my number 1s. Like, the previous iteration for the California Golden Seals is actually really cool, too. It's a green and yellow, which is really nice. Kind of gives me old Seattle Supersonics vibes, but I'm a blue guy. Blue and yellow is the best color combination, in my opinion. And the California Golden Seals did it really, really good. I don't know the story of why they don't exist. I think they moved. Excuse my ignorance, but what just a cool name. And I hope I'm talking to people that didn't know that the California Golden Seals were an NHL team at one point. Yeah. Really, really cool team colors, but apparently not that great of a team if they're not in existence anymore. But there it is, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrew, for your contributions, your inspiration for this episode. I appreciate you more than you will ever know, my friend. But that is it. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday for some. Oh, it's Father's Day, so the Father's Day list. We're going to be doing that this upcoming Monday. But all right, have a good weekend, and until next time, do you even list?